Look, here's a claim that I've made in the past. I don't think that stochastic acts of terroristic violence from individual extremists is really that big of a threat to the United States of America. And that is true in one sense. And it is in the sense that you are far more likely to die from any number of causes than you are to die from, like, Patriot Prayer or the Proud Boys or whatever. That's just a fact of the matter. Usually, I like to focus on systemic issues, like, say, for example, drug overdoses or lack of proper medical coverage or, poverty and starvation, these kind of things, you know? These issues kill way the fuck more people, way the fuck. Because you guys remember, right? How many people have died from COVID? Nearly 250,000 now. How many people died from 9/11? Okay? Like, but which one are we still talking about? Are we going to be talking about COVID in 20 years? The Republican Party's not going to be talking about COVID the nanosecond the vaccines are out of the gate. Okay? We know that, all right? What we choose to get scared over is very arbitrary, but there is a decent case to be made that the actual harm done by these terroristic actions is much greater than its death toll might represent. Here, wait, actually, hold on. Does anyone know what the death toll of the Night of Broken Glass was? What was that? Deaths, 91 plus from Kristallnacht. 91 plus. That's not very much, is it? In fact, that's less than the total number of people killed by the far right over the past 10 years, no? And yet, Kristallnacht represented a turning point in Nazi Germany, the moment where violence against the Jewish population was not only encouraged sort of implicitly, but explicitly carried out by both agents of the state and by the individual citizenry of Nazi Germany. And you have to wonder, like, okay, 91 people died. What if you were only assessing the harm Kristallnacht had to the Jewish population of America by its death count, you know? You could go like, oh, Kristallnacht is a Nazi term, dude. It's a German term. I mean, it's German. That I'll say Night of the... Okay, if my pronunciation is that offensive to you, I'll say Night of Broken Glass. Okay. If you only assessed the harm the Night of Broken Glass did to the Jewish population by its death count, do you think that would be an accurate reflection of how harmful it was? Like, if that's the only metric that you looked at, you know? I don't think so. And so I introduce you to another instance of terroristic violence. Wait, Vosh, could people say this about Antifa? Here's the question. Does Antifa meaningfully represent a threat to anybody in this country who is not actively engaging in fascist protesting? The answer is no. Antifa has always directed its antagonism towards two groups, fascists and shop windows. And you know what? I don't care that much about the shop windows, all right? Now, has Antifa occasionally spooked people, perhaps in an unjustified way? Sure, okay, protests get messy. But is the goal of Antifa to intimidate and terrify like a larger block of people, a minority group? No, absolutely not. You can't say that about a lot of the far-right militia groups, but you also can't say that about these people. Kick it. I want you to imagine that you're driving a Biden bus.
Hilarious.
And your truck gets flanked.
I'm about to run out of gas, which I'm sure some of you would love.
By a caravan.
Oh, shit, look at that.
Of Trump trucks. Is this real? I mean, you're looking at it. Here's what else you can look at. Biden event in Texas canceled as armed Trump supporters threaten campaign bus. This is the true threat of terroristic violence, people. Not the actual death toll, but the harm done through the silencing and the chilling effect, which takes place afterwards. Please, if you will. Local Democrats said they were forced to pull the plug on a gathering scheduled to take place in... You fucking kidding me? Pflugerville, a small city about 17 miles north of Austin, due to security reasons. A Biden-Harris campaign bus made a brief stop in downtown Austin and was heckled by about a dozen President Trump supporters. It was not immediately clear if Senator Harris was traveling on the bus. According to local Democrats, the same group of Trump supporters has been following the bus around the country in an attempt to disrupt events in key battleground states. Some of the agitators had been carrying weapons. Armed Trump trolls harassing Biden bus on I-35, ramming volunteer vehicles and blocking traffic for 40 minutes. Ramming volunteer vehicles and blocking traffic. Armed trolls. Is that trolling? Is that what trolling means these days, by the way? How do you say... we're literally talking like Mad Max Fury Warriors ramming campaign buses. We're trolling? It's like a meme? I don't... Yeah. I don't know how we're... I don't... Yeah, it's just a joke, bro. Lib's mad. I don't know exactly how that language parses, but whatever the case may be, this is the actual threat present here. This is exactly the same shit. Exactly the same shit that Trump is deliberately trying to evoke when he encourages his followers to be poll watchers. You think poll watchers... Wait, so first of all, I'm sorry. I know I've talked about this before, but first of all, what is a poll watcher? Like, when you vote, you are behind a curtain. Other people aren't supposed to know which way you vote. How exactly could a poll watcher who doesn't have some explicit authorization from the state, like real official authorization, not just the president's go-ahead, do anything to prevent voter fraud? Really think about it for a second. If voter fraud is the issue, what exactly are they watching for? Like, what can they do? The only thing they can do is intimidate voters. That is it. That is the only thing they can do. That is the only power they have. They can't go inside the booth and like make sure you're voting properly. And voter fraud isn't done when somebody called like Ernesto Hernandez with a fucking poncho and a giant sombrero comes in with a garbage bag full of filled out votes that are all addressed to like 87,000 fucking dead animals and pets and shit like that. Like, that's not how voter fraud happens. I imagine that's how they think voter fraud happens. So credit where credit's due. They probably think that's what they're looking out for. You know, like they all have their like radio blocks, like no Ernesto over here. You know, they're looking out for somebody with like a big gut belly that they're carrying like this, you know, full of, yeah. Sorry, I'm giving away Antifa tactics. My bad. No, in reality, they're here to intimidate people. And this is the exact same shit people have done since the end of the fucking slave days, people. The exact same shit that people have done since back then. Terrorize and intimidate. Murder gets you on the fucking news, okay? Murder will get you condemned. Murder will get you arrested, but you don't have to murder people. Hey, what's the ratio of murder to one less Democrat voter? One murder, one less Democrat voter. Not a great ratio for something that's going to land you in prison. But if you intimidate people, if you disincentivize people, you will massively amplify the ratio of people you're capable of preventing from voting. They did this back during the Ku Klux Klan days. They still do it today. Klanners would show up at polling booths when black people could technically vote. You know, they're allowed to, you know, behind the poll fees and the literacy tests that were meant to be taken by black folk who never learned how to read because they were literally fucking slaves. They could technically vote. And just to prevent that slim minority of black people who could pass the literacy tests, who could afford the poll fees, Klanners were stationed at these polling booths. They were stationed at the voter registration booths. They were stationed everywhere they needed to be in order to prevent these folks from voting. And that's what's happening today. And that is the true terror of far-right violence. This country will never be brought to its knees just by the death toll of fascists and Nazis protesting in the streets, killing people. That is not the real threat. The real threat is that small, targeted acts of violence discourage enough people from speaking up that when the time is needed, you're not there to defend your rights. That is what they're doing here, and that's what they're going to continue to do. It is terrorism. I imagine none of these men are ever going to see a day inside jail, in spite of the fact that they fucking rammed cars. But that is the world that we live in. How do we stop this? Well, there are two ways you can stop this. You either fight it or you slip through it. Y'all want to wear MAGA hats to your voting stations? I mean, that'll keep you from getting harassed. That's for fucking sure. Even if you're black. Conservatives love black Trumpers. They love that shit. They'll take selfies with you. You don't want to take those selfies because that gets on social media and gets back to you. You're going to look real bad. Or you show up with a lot of friends. They're not looking to kill you. If they do, it'll be an anomaly. Most of them are looking to intimidate, and they know that shit. They know it. Oh yeah, you can't actually go up with political merch, but you can kind of signal like an American flag shirt. When was the last time you saw somebody wearing an American flag shirt who looked like a fucking Biden voter, you know? At this point, the American flag is practically a fucking hate symbol with how hard it's been appropriated by the Republicans, you know? It's basically like the Republican symbol that we all acknowledge is the Republican symbol. Draping yourself in the flag has always been the easiest way to avoid criticism for your actions, you know? If you couch something in fervent nationalism, you can get away with pretty much anything. It's pretty easy, frankly, you know? And they love that shit. They do. I did yesterday. Black guy was wearing for it, voted for Biden. Well, that guy's following my advice then. Anyway, don't worry, okay? The threat of violence itself is less concerning than the threat of people being discouraged from participating in the democratic process. And that was, by the way, also kind of the goal of the Night of Broken Glass. Their goal wasn't like, let's get rid of the Jews by killing 91 of them and arresting a few thousand. The goal was to essentially put them in their place. And that's what they're trying to do with you. So, hashtag resist, okay? Hashtag still with her, okay? Rise up, motherfuckers. Okay?